Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you are tuning in from. I am 𝐉𝐎𝐈𝐍, founder of Jolt Your Career, and it is Women's History Month here in the United States. So each Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time, I am tuning in with a powerhouse of a woman or women to bring to you just information to help empower you throughout your career and potentially your job search. And today I am really excited to be talking about women in interviewing. You know, there's so many alarming statistics coming out about how many women left the workforce, how many women are not being put into positions within leadership. And so my guest today is going to be talking with me about the worst interview mistakes women make and how to overcome them so you can get that coveted offer. And not just these lateral moves. We want you moving up as long as that's what you want to do. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring in the cheesehead herself, Paula. Hey, Paula.
Hi, Tegan. Thank you so much.
All right. So for those of you who are not familiar with Wisconsin jargon, there's a lot of dairy cows in Wisconsin. They also have great beer, but they have amazing cheese. And so they're affectionately known as cheeseheads, right? Got
Yes,
that phrase right?
absolutely. And I'm from Green Bay, so that's even more used around this specific city.
Yeah, because you guys own your football team.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, even though the Packers tend to be better than the Bears, I still, my heart's with Chicago, but no competition here.
Right.
Paula, before you introduce yourself, let's say good morning to some of the people in the comments so they'll listen when you're introducing yourself. So we have Amanda, who is a former special education teacher pivoting into customer success, which is amazing. If you haven't heard her story, be sure to tune into a live event she recently did with Dan Roth. It was beyond powerful. We've got Chris in the comments. He says, haven't seen you in a while. That's right. I needed a break. For all you women and men tuning in, if you need a break, take it. Everybody who loves and supports you will come back when you're ready and you're going to feel beyond refreshed. And for those of you who know me, and know I experienced a loss in my family. It was my dog, but my service dog who was there through so much. I couldn't imagine coming back for the first time with anyone but Paula because I know it's going to be all love and comfort. We got Paul, Christina, Jennifer. We got so many people in these comments. So I'm just going to keep going through them all so they all feel some love. And then Paula, can you share who you are, what your business is, what your background is, however you want to introduce yourself? It's your show.
Sure. So I'm a former recruiter and I work with clients one-on-one. I'm a certified professional resume writer and a certified employment interview coach. And really, last year I worked with hundreds of job seekers. And really, what I try to do is help them gain confidence, help them kind of uncover their value, and then help them differentiate from other candidates. So my main goal is really to help put clients in a position so they can get noticed, either through interviewing or through their resume, and then so that they can land jobs that they love.
That is amazing. And so for all of you in the comments who are still coming in, saying good morning, thank you all so much for being here. And I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, I was on, just like a networking conversation with Paula and one of our other fellow coaches. And she blew me away when it came to her tips and tricks on how she helps her clients navigate the interview process. And so one of the things that I had mentioned that when working with my female clients, because ironically enough, I work with more men than I do women, is that us women often have fall into two different categories, right? We're confident, and then at times we can be perceived as like bitchy or having some type of complex, which is such bullshit. Sorry, LinkedIn gods, if you're watching. And then on the other side of the spectrum are just so burnt out. Our confidence is just so shattered because we take a layoff personally, or we're dealing with things and trying to cover them up, but it really shines through in the interview. And so the first place I want to start this live off today is just, Paula, how do you speak with confidence and sell your achievements in a way that will resonate with the recruiter and then the hiring manager so you can get that offer?
I think really to be aware of it. So it's really important to record yourself, or sorry, I just got distracted because my picture came on real big there for a second. Um,
Surprise.
whoa. So really prepare. Record yourself, understand some of the passive language that you might be using. I see everybody do this, women and men, but women do it more often. So if you say things like, maybe they ask you about your strengths and you say, I think a strength of mine is communication. We just normally, we tend to temper what we say and kind of almost disqualify it before we even get it out there. So really notice when you're doing that, if you're saying, I think. Another thing that women do is at the end of something that they say, they'll say, do you know what I'm saying? Or they're asked for a qualification about what they just said. And for understanding from the other person. Men don't do that as often. So really kind of practice, record yourself, and try to uncover those things that you might be saying that are more passive instead of being assertive. And I agree, we got to break this stereotype of like being assertive is not being pushy or bitchy. It's just being assertive and confident. And there's a lot of things that you can do in your communication and in your interview that are going to put you apart from your competition by just doing that alone.
Yes, I love those tips. So, for those of you who are in the comments, if you have a question for either Paula or myself about your interview experience, definitely drop that because we would be happy to answer them. And she's so right. When it comes to having confidence, there's a balance, in most often we're not aware of them. So if you do pre-record yourself, if you do write out a script and then take that script down to talking points, so that way you feel, you don't want to be rehearsed to the point where you're a robot,
Exactly.
but you want to know your key points so your confidence
Mm-hmm.
shines through and so that you really do sell your achievement. So like
Mm-hmm.
the first question out of the bat. So often research shows that within the first 5 minutes of the interview, they know whether or not they want to move forward with you or not. And so that basically means you have the time it takes for you to answer the tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume, so what has you excited about, this role, or whatever that first question may be. That's really when you need to shine. And so really nailing that question down, it can set the stage really high, and then you can have some more forgiveness throughout the rest of it. And
Right.
so one of the things that we both advocate for is really aligning the role that you're going after with your values and with what drives you. And so, Paula, can you speak to your approach on how you guide clients to really decide, do I want to even take this interview?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of career development coaching, which that kind of falls in that bucket. But I do really ask them to kind of do that soul searching or work with another coach who does and really try to figure out, okay, what I think, especially as women, maybe that's stereotyping, but to figure out exactly what we want out of this and to go for the right things. I think you're so much more confident in expressing um, yourself in an interview if you know that that's really aligned to what your values are, what you want to get out of this role, what their company culture is like. So doing all of that pre-work, that's not something that I do a lot of guiding, to be honest, with clients through, but I do encourage them to do that so that when they go out they can just do a much better job. Otherwise you're kind of misaligned, and if you don't really, same goes to like understanding the role. So if you're going to a job interview, really picking apart that job description is crucial, because if you, otherwise, how can you first have to align to the role. So Kyle Elliott, everybody look him up, he's great. But one of the things that he says is align first, differentiate second. So you want to align with the role and then show how you're different. Show what talents and strengths you bring to it. Show how your education, everything that you've done in the past, is going to help differentiate from anybody who does that role.
I love that advice. Oh, hold on. Okay, it's freezing on my end, so hopefully everybody can hear me. But um, so so she doesn't do that side of the coaching, but she still encourages her clients to do it. I do that side of the coaching. So let me just speak to this really quickly. Before you even decide if you are going to go to an interview, you want to, like she said, do the company research. One way to do that is to speak with people who actually work at the company, not just look at online reviews, and speak to people who have recently left the company, because you'll get a
Great
perspective
advice.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're inside the interview, you want to continue asking meaningful questions to make sure that alignment's there. So when Paula said you need to research, like to really study that job description, you're going to take that job description and use that throughout the interview to guide your answers. What skills are they looking for? Well, you know from that job description what skills that they're looking for, so you can tailor your career stories to those specific skill sets that they're looking for, and incorporate some of that language that they use. So I work with a lot of veterans, and I actually did a interview prep for a vet last night. And if you're watching, I say this with all love. He said, he basically was saying he empowers his team and creates a feedback rich environment to help people grow. He wants people to be able to replace him. That's how well he wants his people trained. But he used an analogy about, a lion leading the sheep. He wants all lions. He wants to be the lion leading lions to complete the mission. And I'm like, wait. You got to be talking about civilian language. Well, the same goes for a civilian going for a civilian job. Whatever your current company culture jargon is going to be different from the next company jargon. And so you can learn the way that they talk and represent themselves by doing the research Paula just talked about. And once you know yourself, what your likes and dislikes are, what your values are, what your non-negotiables are in a company, in a position, you can ask questions that actually matter throughout the interview. So often I've heard questions like, when I was a recruiter, well, what do you like about the company? I'm an agency recruiter. I don't work for that company. And so what I like is they pay my commission. Like, that's just not an effective question to ask. So we need to know, what are the right questions to ask who? So the questions that actually matter when coming to the recruiter, Paula, what would you say are good questions to ask the recruiter throughout the interview process? Because they're not going to know as much as the hiring manager.
Well, and I just wanted to step back one point about the whole interview, about the questions. So I think it's really important to point out that you said it a couple of times, Tegan, but ask questions throughout the interview. I
Yeah.
believe sometimes interviewing is kind of like a power imbalance. And a way to minimize that or lessen that is to ask questions throughout. So if you're just waiting until the end of the interview and then it's like an interrogation, and now here's your chance to interview, that it creates that dynamic that we don't want. So throughout the interview, if you can ask some questions, it's going to help it be more of a business discussion, more of a conversation between colleagues. It helps everybody relax a little bit. So definitely ask those throughout the interview. I just wanted to make sure that we touch on that, because I just think that's such a thing that especially women, we're like, okay, we were told we were supposed to ask at the end and wait till the end, so I'm going to be a good girl and ask at the end. And especially don't do that.
Yes. Conversations over
Mm-hmm.
interrogations all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think back to your question about questions to ask the recruiter is, you want to do questions that show interest in the company, but questions that show that you went a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
What did you do to try to find out specifically about this company that shows your interest, shows you're a curious person who wants to learn and grow? I think generally that is just go a little bit deeper. What are some of the biggest challenges that you'll face? What is the first 90 days going to look like? A chance for you to ask something that has more substance and create more of a connection with that recruiter, and so that you kind of come across as looking smart, but it's also going to give you great information to use throughout the rest of your interview. It's
Yeah.
data, basically.
Exactly. You want a cheat sheet for the test. The real test is when you interview with the hiring manager.
Right.
And so my go-to question to ask a recruiter is, I obviously read the job description and look forward to learning more about this role today. Could you tell me, like, what exactly is this hiring manager looking for in a candidate?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then when you get in that interview
Right.
with the hiring manager, you can prepare career stories based on that information and then tell that hiring manager, it was such a great conversation that I had with the recruiter, Paula. She
Mhm.
had mentioned that your priority for this role is X, Y, and Z. Could you speak to that a little further?
Mhm.
And then it shows like, okay, it's going to be less of an interrogation on my background, more a collaborative conversation on what this role is, how what I can bring to the table for this
Mhm.
role. And that's a completely different tone for the interview. So
Right.
amazing. Now, what about hiring managers? And I see we've got a couple questions. I'm going to get to you. Well, what would you say are the best questions to ask then to the hiring manager?
I like questions about, okay, what are the biggest challenges that you face? It's very similar to what you just said about the recruiter. What are the qualities in a candidate that they're looking for? It's really similar. What are the biggest challenges that you face? That way, it gives your brain some time to think about that throughout the rest of the interview. How am I going to help them solve those challenges? And then
Yes.
answering your questions that way.
Yep. I love that because then you become a solution. And it
Exactly.
it it changes that power dynamic like you spoke of for the
hmm
whole entire time.
hmm
And for ladies, gentlemen, all of you tuning in, when you are in the interview, that means they're already interested in you. That
Right.
means they already saw something in you that makes you qualified for the job. And so I'm going to jump right to Jen's question. And Jen says, I keep getting interviews, but I'm not getting an offer. So she said, maybe we'll talk about that more in our coaching. And yeah, Jen, absolutely. So for those of you who would like to join later on today, every Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time, me, Dan Roth, a bunch of other recruiters, coaches, etc., do a Job Connection Tuesday collective office hours on Zoom where you can come get your questions asked, get some feedback. And Jen's an amazing client of mine too, who's a complete badass. And what happens when you keep getting rejections is it does begin to hit your confidence. And so we can practice interview prep more. And when I'm working with a client, I kind of know the backstory, right? So I can give more specific feedback. When it comes to interviewing, we need to really tailor our answers to that company and think a little bit deeper. What is it that they're wanting to figure out by asking this question? And so when you can take your interviewing to the next level and understand at a more sophisticated level, what is it that they're really trying to get out of? You can frame your answer in the best possible light to fit in. Not, I don't want you to change who you are, but if you're interested in that company and if you're interested in that position, you've already identified that you are in alignment, and so you're not changing who you are. You've already identified that you're a good fit, but that you can um, be a bit concise and strategic when it comes to answering those questions. So you then become to the top of the pile. And it's not easy. That's why so many people invest in working with me or Paula or any of the other coaches here, because interviewing is an art and a science. And if you just wing it, even if you're prepping a lot, your answers may not be at the level that you would want. So let me break this down for everybody. As a recruiter, as a hiring manager, due to discrimination laws, we're required to have some type of structure to the process so we can prove there was no wrongdoing. And so let's say I'm asking an interview question. I'm going to rank you 1 out of 5. So tell me about a time when you resolve customer conflict. Now, going to go to retail because everybody can understand this. I got my boss. All right. That's going to be a 1. I might even give you a 0 on that one, right?
What was it? I'm
But
sorry. I got my boss.
Yeah, I got my boss. So if
Oh, you went and you
yeah,
had to go
so
to you had to go to somebody else to solve the problem. Okay.
yes. Yeah. So if you're in an interview and you go to somebody else, that's going to be a low answer. But let's say conflict resolution with a customer. Um, I leverage Power BI to analyze customer feedback forms. So that way I can implement new policies and procedures to increase customer satisfaction scores and implement policies to address historical data. So that way moving forward that doesn't even exist anymore. So that's going to be a 5, right? So you're being proactive about dealing with something. And so even if we all are doing our interview prep, we might be only scoring a 3. And we want to take that 3 to a 4 and ideally a 5. But it takes so much work. So, Jen, I got your back. We'll chat. You got my personal cell. You can call me at any time.
I
So, I
wanted to add
want,
something on that,
yes,
Tegan.
yes.
So, like, one thing I've noticed, Jen, is I agree 100% with the 3. So sometimes people will come to me and we'll do interview coaching, and I'll say, I actually give this feedback. Like, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
It's a great answer, but okay, let's make it better. Like, 3
Yep.
is a good answer, but let's try to make it a 5 or increase more of those 3s to 4s and 5s. And a lot of people have heard of the CAR formula or the STAR formula for answering questions. So, Jen, that's like challenge, action, result. You've probably heard of that. You can Google that. So, what I like to add or think about for someone like Jen who's making it through multiple rounds but maybe not getting the offer, are you focusing on the R? A lot of people tend to either forget the R or kind of very quickly say the R. So give more of your attention to the results. What did that mean for the company? And the reason why I say that is that that's the transferable part. So maybe you did work in customer service and you're not doing that anymore. So like the actual like steps you took might be transferable, might not. The challenge might not be transferable at all. But what's kind of something important to pull out, which also resume writers do, is the results. And really talking about that result. You can lead with the result if you want. You can answer the question, well, oh my gosh, yeah. They ask you a question. Okay, give me an example of a time you had a challenge with blah, blah, blah. You say, oh, it was great. We were able to actually win over this customer and they increased their business by $1 million that year. So you can actually start with the result first, just like resume writing. And then talk about the actions and talk about other the challenges, maybe reiterate what you learned. So I would challenge you to do that a little bit when you're thinking about recording yourself or working with somebody else. Make sure you're focusing on the results. A lot of people tend to talk about what they did, the actions that they took. It's just natural the way we speak. We talk about, okay, I did this today, I did this today, and then we like barely touch on why we did that or what the result was.
I love that. And since you are on such a roll, I'm going to let you take
Oh boy.
first dibs on the next question because I
This
know
I
you're a
got something
mom
cover my
too.
skin. Okay, how do you interview confidently and once landing, upholding that confidence? I dislike when we are working with others that, for example, don't have children and we are looked upon as less qualified. I have witnessed time and time again getting stepped. So it
And then,
sounds like
yeah, getting
after,
stepped on overdue to gender, age, and and not being a mom.
whoa, that seems like a lot to unpack. It sounds like you have the confidence in the interview, but then afterwards, I don't know. I mean, I think as a society, I'm so glad that we're having discussions about women and our confidence and being more confident, and we're kind of breaking through some things. I don't know if this is helpful for you or not, but I feel like I have a daughter who's 18, and just the different way that they talk about things and they demand their place. And I guess I would ask that you do the same. Think about, play it like Paula's 18-year-old daughter who like isn't taking that crap anymore. So I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure where you're coming from. Like Paula said, it's a lot to unpack, but look, everyone feels like where they're at in life is a disadvantage to compare to someone else. As a single emerging leader, I got sent all over the place when it came to work. Oh, well, you don't have kids. You can go here, and then you can go here, and then you can go here, and then you can go here. Like, oh, okay, I don't, deserve to be able to stay in one spot for that amount of time. And so, and same thing. While I was at the Department of Labor, I couldn't be promoted to a certain level until I reached a certain age because I couldn't drive the company vehicle. And then because some of our clients, would be older than me and things of that nature, they just had, these rules in place. And so it can go at any spectrum when it comes to isms.
That's a
And
great
so
point.
yeah, I mean, like age discrimination, for example, is so many younger people are saying, well, I'm not going to get that coveted leadership spot because there's people with more experience. And the people with more experience are saying, well, companies want to hire somebody cheaper. So they go younger with less experience. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
and so everybody has these feelings. What I would encourage you to do is take ownership of the things that you can control and stop focusing on the things that you can't, and put in work where you are in your zone of genius, because that will come to light and that's what you'll be known for. You'll build a brand around all the things that you have versus all the things that you're not. And it doesn't matter those things that you're not, because you are you and you are perfect the way you are. And obviously, the way that you continue to show up and ask thoughtful questions means that you're only trying to work on improving yourself. And the only person you have to be in competition with is yourself. So when it comes to interviewing confidently, for me, I practice. That's what I need. But that may be something different for you. And then holding that confidence once I've landed a position. For me, I've always approached landing a new role or being promoted into a new role with curiosity. When I land a new role, I want to meet with decision makers and say, hey, I'm new to the company, would love to get 15 minutes on your calendar to learn a little bit more how our departments collaborate, or what the division is, or what the vision is for your department. So, I can best know how to how to effectively work with you. Here's a little background about me so we don't waste any time, getting to know me. And then you have those conversations with decision makers where you ask thoughtful questions and you're looked upon as eager, willing to learn, excited to be here. So you listen first and then you speak up. And I found that I step on less toes that way. But that may not work for you because everybody has different approaches. But
Mm-hmm.
we can chat about it. Absolutely.
That was wonderful.
Okay, so another question. Um, this is probably something that's not directly related, but I have two recruiters from different companies who contacted me in regards to a job announcement that I answered and were excited to send my info to the hiring manager. Later, hold on, let me unclick it so I can read the rest. They later contacted me only to tell me that the hiring manager did not want to meet with me because I had 20 years experience. Should I disguise my information and dates to avoid? So Paula is a certified resume writer. So Paula, what do you think about showing earlier career experience on your resume?
I think people don't love this answer, but it depends. So a lot of resume writers kind of talk about the 10 to 15 year range. That's the kind of industry norm. Go back 10 to 15 years. So 20 years for you might be too long, but it depends on what is your target. So I had a client who worked at Motorola, and they had started out in the entry level Motorola, and it had been a while back, like 25 plus years. They felt it was important to keep that on there, even though that they're a VP of something now. And because it's an internal job, and having that ground floor experience was really credible for that company, and people needed to see that. And so when I work with people, it's a one-on-one discussion. Does that make sense? It depends. If you have things within that old job that are going to help you point your compass towards that new job, it might make sense. But most of the time, it's not. Yes, you can disguise your age so far, so much. But really, depending on LinkedIn, they might be able to see your picture. They might be able to see other dates on there with your education or certifications. So you kind of, like, back to what Tegan said, control what you can control. You might not be able to totally control what people are thinking about you, but you can control what kind of information you put on that document that's going to help you get towards that where your compass is pointed.
Yeah, and Monica, another workaround around this is instead of only applying to online positions initially, speak to people within those departments and speak to you know, one thing that often hiring managers are, you may be too expensive. So if you speak to someone within the department and say, this is where I'm coming from, I've had a client who, used to be a VP and wanted to not have a global scope of responsibility and wanted to actually go down to the manager role. And so it was that I understand, I make $500,000 right now, and that is not what my expectations are for this next role. I want to be able to spend time with my grandchildren, and this is the perfect role for me. And sometimes giving even that information might be too much, but when you're having informational interviews, you do get to know the person. And so you can say, yeah, I've got a change in priorities and I'm no longer interested in this, but want to move into this. Could you tell me a little bit more? And then ask a really small ask. And then say, who else do you think I should be talking to about this? And be like, oh, talk to the recruiter.
Right.
I'll give you their information. Or talk to the hiring manager. I'll give you their information. And then you kind of bypass some of this because you're building relationships. So instead of it being a cold outreach during the application process, it's a warm outreach, because we all know when we apply with referral links or when we have that insider information, it's not always the best person that gets the job. It's sometimes the person who got most creative and built that likability and trust factor. So hopefully that helped. If not, DM either one of us. We're here to support you. Okay, so here's another question. I have a little we're at 30 minutes. Paula, do you have a couple more minutes?
Sure, no problem.
Okay. To have a little smile when giving an interview or look like a blank faced professional. I don't know, but smiling is sometimes considered something unprofessional. Okay, so I think this might be a cultural thing because women in America are told to smile all the time, where women sometimes in the Middle East are told not to smile because it's, too provocative or whatever. And so if you are going to smile at work, you can go ahead and smile. If you don't naturally like to smile a lot, then you don't have to force yourself to smile. Um, I think smiling is a happy thing.
And I don't know if this is answering the question, but it's so much. I mean, this would be a great another topic for another day, but I mean, all the video interviewing, and it's different. So we used to be able to go in and form a connection with people, and they would see more of our smile, if that makes sense. It wasn't just here.
Yeah.
They could see, our warm body language and how we shook their hand and how we leaned in. And now it's just so flat. So I believe when you're video interviewing, you should really try to smile more. I mean, it's just difficult to make a connection with someone on video. So the more that they can see your face, see your expressions, I think that just really helps with that connection and that engagement.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. All right, Paula, how do you get rid of your pre-interview jitters?
I did a LinkedIn post about this. It was pretty interesting. So I hope I'll remember the exact question, but it was like, what do you need before an interview? And one of the choices was hype up music, like you need
Yes.
hype up music. Then the other one was no, I need like calm zen. I think there might have been a third one too, maybe not, but like 75% of the people needed calm zen, and only 25% of the people needed like to play that music in the car on the way there. So most people take pre-interview jitters means like talking to your mom,
Yeah.
doing things that really make you calmer, listening to some calm music, maybe reviewing some notes. So the Amy Cuddy like power pose, it's a TED talk, and she recommended going into the bathroom before and doing a power pose. So that can be part of something that can maybe help you calm down. And if it's like connecting with yourself, I know Mel Robbins does the high five in the mirror thing. So lots of different things that you can do, but you know yourself the best. So if yoga is going to help you, great. If you need to talk with your best friend who's like, dude, you got this, you are going to nail this, like that, really kind of tap into what you need and then go out and get it before, because oh my gosh, it's nerve wracking.
It
Another
is.
thing that I feel like with pre-interview jitters, the more you prepare, there's research that supports this. So the more you prepare, the less your jitters will be. And people who are experienced at public speaking, they'll actually get more nervous the night before. And then the day of, they maybe have a little bit, but they worked through that before. So preparation, preparation, preparation. The more you prepare, the better your jitters will be. Your brain has already gone down that path. So what I like to say, I'm sure there's some people who are experts on this who could talk to it more than me, but your brain, if in a calm setting, you've worked with a friend and you've done some mock interview or a coach or just practiced in the mirror, if you've done that while your body is calm and while your brain is calm, when you're in the actual stressful situation, you're going to do a better job.
Yeah. Because those pre-interview jitters, like, think of it as the red zone. And all that preparation helps you quickly get back into the blue zone. Hype music for me all day, but I totally understand the people who need to zen. All right. So the next question, do you recommend having a few questions ready before the interview? Yes, absolutely. Consistent throughout this live. Preparation, preparation, preparation. You need to know what is it that you need to know to decide if you want to accept an offer or not accept an offer. And so just because you're getting an interview, just because you get an offer doesn't mean you have to accept it. You want to make sure that this is the right position for you. You're getting the right resources. I had a friend who had an opportunity to get a director level position when it came down to it. So it was an internal promotion. When it came down to it, she found out that the team that she was originally promised was being slashed in half, and she was not going to be able to have a life. And so she declined it. And you should feel empowered to be able to do that too. And if unless you ask those questions and know to ask those questions in advance, so you're nice and organized as the conversation flows, the more prepared you are, the more you can be in tune to catching red flags throughout the discussion. So Kyla says that tip is golden. Not sure what you're talking about, but if you're just tuning in now, catch the beginning because we've been going through it. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of Paula's extra time, so this is going to be the last question. What questions can you ask so you can gauge if management is suitable for workplace needs? I've dealt with toxic management in the past and want to stay clear of it. Hell yeah, we want to steer clear of it. It's those red flags we were talking. So Paula, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I just had, over the last year, I've had a couple clients who started somewhere and maybe only worked for a couple weeks and realized they didn't ask the right questions. So I would say, if you can, ask if it's okay to talk with someone on the team. Sometimes companies are getting a lot better at incorporating a team member to be part of the panel interview or part of the interview. And so that's a great opportunity to really just, I think they're more able to tell you the truth. So just like we've said before, just doing more research, the more you can get. Go on to glassdoor.com. A lot of those reviews are pretty harsh. People are more likely to put a negative review on Glassdoor than a positive one. So take that with a grain of salt, but look into the company and really try to kind of zone in on the culture. But the specific thing was questions you can ask. So what is your management style like? Tell me more about how you go about managing your team. What kind of a team environment are you trying to be a proponent of here? Those are maybe 3 questions that I would ask to try to get a feel for that specific manager and how they manage, and if you think you're going to be a good fit for that team. And absolutely, back to what Tegan said, it's a two-way street, especially in the hiring environment that we're in right now. You have a lot more power than you did maybe 3 years ago. So you might be kind of juggling different offers, and making sure that the team fit is there is I would think you have more of that power to do that now than you did 3 years ago.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. And there was a couple more questions that were right in line with the things that you were talking about. How do you ask for that if it's not already a part of their hiring process. And so combining all three of these questions, LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn. Well, some of you are on YouTube, some of you are on Facebook. For the most part, a lot of you are on LinkedIn. Go and find out who is in that department, connect with them, and ask the recruiter saying, hey, you know, I'm really excited about moving along in this process and would like the opportunity to speak to somebody on the team. You know, is there an option to have that be set up? Closed mouths don't get fed. And so the last thing we came here to talk about is compensation. And because we are way over our time, I just want to say this. There's a lot of research out there about compensation. There's different approaches to compensation. When we are talking about compensation, go to salary.com, go to payscale.com, run a compensation analysis on yourself based on your education, years of experience, title. You can even put in target companies with job titles to see what range they're getting. Know the data. Don't pull a number out of your butt. Know the data so you know where you fall in the range, and then ask for it. So when that recruiter says, what are your compensation expectations? Great question. I didn't see that listed on the job description. Can you tell me what the range is? And then you can say, well, I'm comfortable with that range. And obviously, you know, with my experience, I would anticipate being on the higher end. If they say, oh, you know, I'm not really sure what that is, I'll have to get back to you on it, I call bullshit. But you can still be professional and you can say, yeah, that's fine. The more I learn about the position, you know, I'm sure I'll have a better idea. But for me to accept an offer, I would need to be between X and Y. You can give yourself a range. And then as you get to the offer stage, say, I'm so excited. Thank you for, you know, the offer. Can you please, you know, email me the offer letter so I can review it? And they're going to push you. I need a verbal confirmation. Oh, I would, you know, go ahead and send me the details in the email. Give me 24 hours to digest, you know, because I want to make sure I'm taking everything into consideration, and I'll get back, you know, and we can chat tomorrow. And then email them. Thank you. You know, to quite honestly, the offer is a little bit lower than I was expecting, based on being able to accomplish this and accomplish back to those results that Paula was emphasizing. Then say, is there wiggle room on this? And ask for all your ass up front. Both of us has been recruiters. There's nothing worse than somebody coming back and having another ask and another ask. Do you realize how many people we have to go to get everything approved? Have all your ask. If you want equity, ask for it. If you want more base, ask for it. If you want a sign-on bonus, ask for it. If you need a reload package, ask for it. Have these details be upfront, because especially if you're in a position that's required to lead or negotiate, this is going to be a skill set that you need to get more comfortable with. Paula, I'll let you close it out. And
that was like a masterclass in negotiation in like 3 minutes or 2 minutes or something. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to play that back myself. That was amazing. So yeah, the best negotiators are prepared negotiators.
Yeah.
So be prepared. And I just think, like, I'm so glad that we're starting to talk about this more and it's becoming more open and women are knowing. I mean, a lot of us my age did not have role models who talked about negotiation or even what they got paid, and it was not done. And so I think it's refreshing to me to see, like, that's the way we're moving, where we're having more open discussions and women are like taking their power. And whoever you know who's a great negotiator, talk with them, channel them that day, get their advice, prepare.
Absolutely. And I am typing right now. For those of you who didn't get your questions answered, I am putting in the Zoom link in the comments right now. It looks like when I'm doing it backstage, it's not letting me post on LinkedIn. So as soon as me and Paula get off, I will add it on there. But Paula, thank you so much. This has been an incredible session. I am so sorry for everybody that we're not getting to your questions, but reach out to Paula. She is on LinkedIn. She also has a website, strategiccareercoaches.com. She will be happy to follow up with you, as am I. We are here to support you, empower you, and help you land that coveted offer that we are all seeking. So don't be shy. Reach out. For all of you in the comments right now, go back and connect with each other. Send that personalized invite. Hey, saw you were also on Tegan and Paula's live this morning. Would love to connect. Let me know if I can support you in your job search in any way. Job seekers, do interviews with each other, do mock interviews with each other, do a trade. You don't have to pay for my or Paula's time. Trade with each other, help each other out. We are here to support each other. So take advantage of that network. And then also next Friday, I am coming in with all of the ladies, well, most of the ladies, because not all the ladies could join, but I am coming in with JobScan's top career experts to follow on LinkedIn. And we are going to talk about why we do what we do and our top tips for helping you land the role that you're looking for so you can own your career in 2022. So Paula is an absolute gem. Go follow her now. Paula, what would be your advice to close this session out for anybody in the comments right now? You can take it in any direction you want to.
I would say, I feel like we talked about it a lot, but just really prepare. The more prepared you are, the more confidence that you're going to have. And that confidence is really going to show through. I mean, you want to be, one of the main things that you want to do in an interview is show that you can confidently do the job. And you want to be memorable. And both of those things, preparation helps both of those things. It helps salary negotiation, like we talked about. So do your due diligence. People sometimes think that the higher up they go in the leadership level, that the less preparation they would actually have to do. And I find the opposite. I find my clients who are senior VPs and who are at senior leadership, they do exponentially more preparation than people who are not. So if they're doing it, and even though they have so much experience and they've been through so many interviews and they've interviewed people themselves, we should all be doing it.
I love that. Paula, you are such a gem for joining me. I will see you in Wisconsin too for some spotted cow and cheese curds.
It's a date.
And thank you for everybody tuning in.